doctors around the country who happen to provide treatment to transgender patients are now dealing with violent harassment. They have been targeted by right-wingers who have engaged in this full-blown assault toward the transgender community for their own political purposes. And it's having a real impact on these doctors and the patients that they serve. One such pediatrician, Dr. Gina Sekira, who's a co-founder of a children's gender clinic in Seattle, Washington, shared her experience. Roughly a month before the September protest, she had received an unmarked letter in the mail that gave her pause. She worried about the risk of anthrax, she tells Time, of someone trying to hurt her. Eventually, she gingerly opened the envelope. Inside, she found printed posters decrying gender-affirming care for children. No child is born in the wrong body, one read. Who profits from this crime? And we've talked about what gender affirming care for minors looks like. The right wing would have you believe that they're like undergoing serious operations when they're like 12 years old. In reality, the treatment that they get typically tends to be mental health treatment, especially considering the fact that suicide is unfortunately very prevalent among the transgender community. And the minors are also sometimes given medication that kind of slows down puberty. So by the time they're adults and they can make decisions about what to do, they can make a fully formed decision and move forward in that regard. And these are, this is the type of care that minimizes the risk of suicide. But of course, the right wing doesn't care about that. They have used this particular topic as a way of fear mongering, as a way of making it seem as though parents who have transgender children are abusing them somehow by making them feel accepted within their family or within their community. And it's really starting to have an insane impact on the very doctors who are just trying to do their jobs. And I want to give you an example real quick before I go to you, Cenk, of the kind of rhetoric that we hear from right wingers. So I'm gonna move over to graphic 5 here. And this is actually from a former Mississippi lawmaker, Robert Foster. He tweeted this. This is the kind of rhetoric that you'll see from right wingers. Some of y'all still want to try and find political compromise with those that want to groom our school-aged children and pretend men are women. I think they need to be lined up against the wall before a firing squad be sent to an early judgment. So basically, he is advocating for essentially the execution of anyone who is supportive of the transgender community. When he was called out for that tweet, he decided to essentially double down, tweeting this. Why the firing squad specifically? First and foremost, I am a Southern gentleman, he claims, and it's a very efficient and civilized way of disposing of evil. Secondly, it would be too costly and time consuming to fly them all high up over the Gulf of Mexico and push them out of a helicopter. That's the kind of guy he is. And unfortunately, he's not unique. You see this kind of rhetoric in regard to the transgender community and supporters of the transgender community quite often from the right wing.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, in regards to that Mississippi legislator, he should be arrested. Yeah, I know. He's a former state rep and ran for statewide office as well. And got a decent amount of the vote, by the way. So he should be arrested. We're normalizing threats of violence. No, that's against the law. So talking about executing people in an extrajudicial way is clearly a crime. No, nothing. This is encouraging vigilante violence, lawlessness, and chaos. And that's what we're getting. So I know Democrats are scared. You've got to take action. You can't have former legislators or anyone walking around going, hey, let's just murder the other side. They're not getting how insanely lawless that is. It's just a recipe for absolute disaster. Now, let's turn to Republicans who are generally hateful overall as an entire party. Don't bother trying to deny it. Here are facts. 19 states this year, 21 states last year, of course, all Republican states, tried to pass laws against getting health care for transgender kids. In Texas, Greg Abbott, until a judge stopped him, was having Child Protective Services go to the homes of transgender kids and try to arrest their parents for being good to them, not for being bad to them. So Republicans are sick people who are filled with hate. They're trying to put that hate onto the trans community now. Why? Conservatives in this country historically have built their entire ideology on hatred. So whether it was slavery, it was Jim Crow, it was the Southern strategy, for most of American history, they hated black people, and was their bread and butter. That's what right wing in America is. Hatred of black people was their mainstay. Of course, they also hated Chinese and they blocked them. They hated Latinos, they hate Muslims, etc. But in modern history, they have been moving from category to category. So they would pass laws against black people, and then they passed the anti-Sharia laws as if Muslims are about to take over Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then they passed anti-gay laws in 2004 against gay marriage, etc. Now they moved on to trans people. They just transfer their hate from one group to another to another. So does it, nearly 50% of trans kids consider suicide. Do Republicans care? Other than the governor of Utah, who had a really great statement, and we always give credit where credit is due. And if Republicans were good guys, we'd tell you that, right? As the governor of Utah was. But outside of him, no, they're all in. They don't mind trans kids contemplating and committing suicide because they think trans people, there's something wrong with them. We should hate them. We should ostracize them. We should take away their rights. And sometimes we should even take away their parents. We should imprison their parents and send them to foster care. That's the barbaric, hateful people that Republican voters are. The Republican leaders are acting this way because it gets them elected. Keep it real. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.